Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nina, and of course Pandora is always around. If you're new here, welcome. Please feel free to watch the very first video with introductions and whip parade and all kinds of goodies. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for being here. I am just absolutely beside myself every time I see anyone actually watch my videos. So let's get started. So in this video, we're going to have April recap. I'm going to talk to you about my Reno trip at the end of April. We'll discuss May 5x5. There will be a lot of name dropping, which is always in good fun. And finally, the 2019 finished projects that I share in my last segment called Projects from the Past. So if you're not aware, Pam and Steph from Just Keep Stitching have a new segment in their videos where they showcase people that are new to Flosstube and people that have been around for quite a while. They're silver and gold. And in Pam Stitching Between the Lines last video, she decided for comic relief that she was going to mention Pam and Steph over and over again in her video in hopes that she could earn the gold spot. And I jokingly left her a message and said, well, I would love to be the silver spot. So here we are, name dropping like crazy, like it's my job. I hope you guys enjoy the fun. This is, again, it is all just for fun. Please, no one be offended by this. And if you're not watching Pam and Steph or even Pam from Stitching Between the Lines, I will leave a link for both floss tubes in the drop box below. So first up in the April recap is my temperature bookshelf. The pattern name is Bookshelves Daily Temperature Blackwork, and it is by Peppermint Purple. They have an Etsy shop as well as a .com. And they are on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. You can find them anywhere. This has been such a joy. I'm really enjoying this. As you can see, in April, we've had quite a bit of a change in weather. I went ahead and moved the little picture frame to where I left to go to Reno. Now, the temperatures that are after the picture frame are, in fact, the temperatures for here and not Reno. I went ahead and made sure to look up every single day temperature for both places so that I could keep a good recording of it. Now this is done on 20 count white Aida, and I'm using Victorian motto flosses as well as the called for DMC. And I'm recording the highs for each day, and I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm stitching this on Sundays. Now, while I do realize this is very repetitive, every single video so far since January, I have started with this particular pattern, but since it is a stitch along, it is a year-long stitch along, I really hope that you guys don't get too terribly bored of seeing this. I try to leave all the information that I can so that when new viewers join us, that they don't have to go back 5-6 videos just to find out what everything is. Next up is Prim Stitch by Lori Holt. This was a monthly club through the Fat Quarter Shop. They would ship one a month. Here I am showing you a picture of where I was. And now I have completed 2 more squares, so 2 small finishes so far. This is on an 18 count Aida in the color Dirty. I'm using Victorian motto flosses that I converted from the called for threads. The original pattern was 3 squares across by 4 squares long. I have changed that to 4 squares across and 3 long because I feel that fits better in the picture frames that I have. I also continued to work on the border, and I'm excited to really get this going. I have maybe 2 more months worth of work on this. Very excited to get it done. Here is a close-up of block number 6. And block number 9. Hey, Pam and Steph, if you're watching, I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Okay, next up is Pandemic. Now, this is what I took with me to see my dad in Reno. I made this little pouch with the vinyl front so that if TSA needed to see what was in my bag, they would be able to see it. I had a pair of fold-up scissors. I had the magnetic needle case with a needle threader and my needles, and of course the pattern and the threads that I used. I had no difficulties whatsoever through security with this bag or with the needles or the scissors or anything. I was very surprised and actually quite happy about that. So, Pandemic. This is a long dog sampler. It is done on 18 count Aida. Sadly, I don't have the tag for it, so I'm not sure if this is a fabric that I personally dyed or if I got it this way. Unfortunately, I don't have that information anymore. I'm using Sulky 12 weight cotton thread in the color Ocean Blue. I have 4 or 5 of these spools. They have 330 yards each on this, and I really enjoy using this thread. It is a lot of fun to use this thread because you just pull it right off the spool. You don't have to split it, and it is just a little bit thicker than 2 strands of DMC. Now, as you can see, I don't have a lot of progress, and I thought that I would have a lot more time to stitch. I didn't end up with any kind of room to maneuver on the airplane. It was kind of disappointing because I really thought I was going to be able to get quite a bit of this done. The lighting wasn't good. At the hotel, we were so exhausted, we just went right to bed after visiting. And then next thing I know, we were coming home and we didn't, we had a layover in Denver, but more of that will come in my Reno trip. Next up, I wanted to show you my threads for Hoity Toity. This was my birthday start at the end of March. This was a pattern that I saw on Brenda's Flosstube Handworkmaniac, and I instantly fell in love with it again because I know that Jan Hicks also had done Hoity Toity, and I just had to do it myself as well. I'm not a big fan of pink, so I went ahead and converted to purples and blues. I'm so excited. I didn't get a lot done, but as you can see, I've gotten all the way across the border. So here is a photo of where I was at the end or at the beginning of April. And this is done on 20 count white Aida, and I'm using DMC flosses that I have converted. I will make sure to leave links for Brenda, Jan, Pam and Steph, and Pam all in the drop down. And here's my finish for April. It is a pin pillow that I made for my friend Connie. We have been friends since middle school. She's actually the one that got me back into cross stitching after my hiatus. This pattern is Rose Alphabet by Donna Vermillion. I'm using a scrap piece of fabric. It's 32 count cream Lugana with DMC and Kreinik. On the back, I used a blanket stitch with some felt with my initials, and the pom-pom trim is Lady Dot Creates. Okay, next up is the Reno trip. I just wanted to share a few photos with you in case you've never been to Reno. We started out in Louisville, Kentucky. We had a stop in Denver where we switched planes and then on to Reno. We stayed at the Nugget. Here's some great pictures of Mount Rose and Slide Mountain. The reason for the visit is that I actually grew up in Reno and my father still lives there. He's 80 years old and his health is not the best. So my husband and I decided we should definitely take a trip to visit him. And that also gave me a chance to reconnect with Connie, which was a lovely day. I really enjoyed having sushi with her and her husband. And overall, the trip was really great. It was short, and I hope you enjoy these photos. I did manage to get one really great souvenir from our trip. We had stopped at the Indian Colony Smoke Shop, and I asked the gentleman there if he had any old cigar boxes, and sure enough, he did. I was so excited to get this. I went ahead and purchased the Leona's stitching box from Blackbird Design. So my plans for May include the May 5x5. This is something that Carol from Saltbox Stitcher kind of decided she was going to do. And if you watch her episodes number 69 and 93, she explains it in detail. But basically, the short story is you pick 5 samplers to work on for 5 days in the month of May. Now, she does specifically say that you don't have to do samplers. So 5 projects for 5 days in May. And here are mine. The first one up is Anniversaries of the Heart. I'm using a 40 count Swigart linen in the color Woodland. I purchased an 18 by 27 piece from 123 Stitch. I'm using a mix of color and cotton, Victorian motto, and overdyed flosses. I am currently working on April, which is the Pink Hill Manor. As you can see, I already have a start to this because I'm filming a little bit late due to the trip. This block will be dedicated to my mother. She passed away in 2019. She was born in 1954 and in April, obviously. So this block is going to be hers. The second set of 5 days in May will be spent on Consider the Lilies. This is by Heartstring Samplery. The fabric I'm using is a 40 count Swigart linen in the color Birch. I am using the called for overdyed threads. I have a second piece of this fabric for His Eye on the Sparrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to be starting that, but this is number 2 in the lineup of 5 by 5 in May. And Anne Uffendale is coming back for number 3 in May. She is a Hands Across the Sea on 40 count Swigart in the color Country Mocha, and I'm using the DMC called for threads. I am almost done. I am so excited. I cannot wait to finish her. And number 4 is Sweet Florence Mary Dickinson. She's also coming back for a grand return this month. She is also a Hands Across the Sea. She was an exclusive to the Hobby House Needleworks in Pittsford, New York. And I'm using a 40 count Swigart on her. This is flax. And I'm using the Versoix Soie d'Alger called for silks on this one. And sampler number 5 for the last 5 days is Jane Bannister. And guess what? She is also from Hands Across the Sea. If it wasn't for the Anniversary of the Hearts, this could have just been 5 by 5 from Hands Across the Sea. Anyway, this is vintage exemplar linen in 40 count. And the threads that I'm using are a bunch of overdyes. Now, what I did was I went to a lovely store in Louisville. I forgot the name of it offhand. I'll have to look that up. But what my husband and I did is we pulled the DMC for Jane, and then we turned around and converted it into fancy flosses. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. You definitely need to see her in person to get the full rainbow effect, but she is gorgeous. And finally, we're on projects from the past 2019. First up is Summer Quakers. This is from Rosewood Manor, and I used the called for 28 count truffle, which is a fabric from Picture This Plus. I also used the called for Valdani threads. Now I purchased the Valdani threads through 123 Stitch as a collection. They had like a little box full of the colors just specifically for this sampler. I really enjoyed this sampler. It took quite a bit because there's a lot of stitching. You don't actually realize that, and because of all these little motifs, you do get a little hurrah every time you finish them, but in the long run, it does still take quite a while. I started this in January of 2019 and finished it in June. The frame is from Frames by Mail, and I do all my own framing. I learned from Teresa Kitten Stitcher. Watch her videos to learn how to frame. Next we have Midsummer Night Fairy. This is a Mirabilia. I started her in May 2019 and finished her in July 2019. I gifted her to my husband as an anniversary gift. He first saw this piece in the same shop, the Finishing Touch in Louisville, and absolutely fell in love with it. He loved it so much. So I just had to do it for him. This is on 40 count water green linen, and it is a Witchell fabric. I used the called for DMC and Kreinik, and instead of beads, I went ahead and substituted the beads with other Kreinik filaments to basically replicate the beading. My husband absolutely loves this. He hung this up in the living room and he enjoys it. Now, you can't really tell in the video, but I'm really trying hard to show you how much she sparkles and shimmers. Her wings are iridescent. The red and pink in her wings are sparkly. She's got the gold chain. She's just amazing. I really wish you could get a better picture or somehow be able to convey how gorgeous she really is and how much she sparkles. Mirabilias are known for their filament and their beading, and every minute you spend on these is so worth it. I absolutely love Mirabilia and Nora Corbett. Now, if you guys made it this far, then I thank you so much for watching. Next up, I have 2 videos that I recorded of the lilac and snowball bushes. I have to warn you, if you're wearing headphones, turn down the volume. Please, the wind was really strong that day. I just wanted to show you guys what I see out my window when I'm filming. We planted these when we first moved in 2016, and they were teeny tiny little 1-gallon plant pots. Any of you gardeners will know exactly how small that is. But that is our office window. Oh, the wind's picking up, hang on. I may need to cut out the audio for this because the wind is blowing, but I just wanted to show you behind these bushes is my actual crafty studio, or as my husband calls it, the stitchy studio, and I absolutely love this. Now most of you might think, well gosh, now you've wasted a window. But I love this because it gives you privacy. You can see through these bushes, but nobody can see you, and I absolutely love them. Now as you can see, my husband has been trimming some stuff out because as he mows the lawn, it's been getting in his way, and I keep crying and telling him not to do so. But you know, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. I hope you enjoyed these as much as I do.